is Alexandra Paul, and you are listening to the Movie Raid.
It's time for the Movie Raid, and tonight's victim is actress Alexandra Paul, who's played in several TV shows as well as films like Baywatch and including Christine. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Peachy.
Several doesn't really explain it, so I'll go into more detail.
Well, it's better than saying few.
Years, so,
oh, she's been in a few. She's only been in like one or two, maybe three.
Yeah, I've starred in over 75 films and television shows.
Yeah, we don't have that kind of time, though.
No, you don't have to go into all of them. I've forgotten a lot of them.
So, what's been going on recently with you?
Well, I'm producing 2 movies, and one of them is I have the rights to the book Free the Animals by Ingrid Newkirk, which is the story of the beginning of the Animal Liberation Front in the United States, which was founded by a female cop. So she was a cop by day and an animal liberator by night. And my partner is Nick Tyler, and the writer of the script is Nico Lalonde, who just finished the 33, which is going to be starring Jennifer Lopez, and he's written for Oliver Stone and Tom Cruise, and so he has a really good track record, and we're very happy with the script. And Russell Simmons is very interested in executive producing. We've had several meetings, and so we're hoping that we'll be able to work together.
You don't see a whole lot of animal rights type films.
Oh, you don't see any animal rights films because all the ones that aren't mainstream, and we plan to make this film mainstream. It's a really, really good story. It's a great part for a woman. So we're looking for an actress who's got a very high name value because we think a lot of actresses will be interested in playing the part. So this will probably be the first commercial animal rights, the first commercial film with an animal rights, just like Aaron Brockovich had sort of an environmental theme, but it was really a very good story. That's what this is about. It's a really exciting story about a woman's transformation from abiding the law to breaking the law and becoming one of FBI's most wanted. But it also will teach the audience about things they didn't know about animal rights activists and animal rights. You
kind of want to show a different direction of it.
Yeah, well, this film takes place in the early 80s, and the animal rights movement was really young. And so, no, this would be more about the underground, the liberation secret cells that go in and liberate animals from labs and universities and things like hospitals, things like that, where there's a lot of research testing going on. I've always been an activist, and generally my acting career most of my projects have been very entertainment-oriented, fluffy, just purely entertainment. But my private life I've been very active, and this is an opportunity for me to meld both my personal beliefs and my experience in Hollywood.
Speaking of the entertainment part, we got an anniversary that at least kind of surpassed a little bit, but we didn't even get a chance to get into it yet because you got Christine as well. Have you got anything special for that yet?
Yeah, it's the 30th anniversary of the release of the horror film Christine, which was based on the Stephen King novel and directed by John Carpenter. I'm actually going to Carlisle, Pennsylvania this weekend to do a large car show. They're doing a screening and a panel, and I'll be signing autographs. And there were several other autographs. We're invited quite often to autograph shows and things, but I've been kind of busy. I'm not able to go to them, but this one I am able to go to. So if any of your listeners, I'll be there this weekend with some of my castmates and one of the original Christine cars.
Oh, wow. Because there's not a whole lot of them. They only made between around 20 or so, and like at least 99% of all of them just got destroyed during the making of the film. And I think only one actual car is still in possession by somebody else.
I know that we used 21 of them, and we wrecked all of them but 3. And I know that Bill Gibson owns one of the Christine cars, and that one is the one that'll be there at the Carlisle Car Show. I think Richard Colbert's, the producer, has one, but I'm not sure. I talked to him last year. He now is like the dean of Chapman University, and I can't remember if I asked him if he had a car. Still had the car. It'd probably be worth a pretty penny by now.
Oh, certainly. Film-wise, film memorabilia, it definitely is. It's like finding the mold or the extra model of Jaws.
Is that what they found?
Or at least in a junkyard, or at least nearby. I don't know the exact location, but they said some guy found this just laying around in the junk pile, and it was apparently one of the extras that they used for Jaws film. I don't know the current story now, but at least that's interesting to find that out. You never know what you come across when they just get rid of stuff like that. You didn't think it would be important. Do you think that Christine was kind of an important type horror film in that time period?
Well, when I was making the film, I was young. I was 19. I'd only been in the business a year, so I was not a horror film fan. I'm still not. I get too scared, so I can't watch them. But I knew of Stephen King, but I hadn't read any of his novels because they were so scary. But I think that film really holds up 30 years later. I mean, John Carpenter is an icon in the movie business, so. And Stephen King, of course, he's a really good writer. If you read the book Christine, it's really well written. So the film definitely holds up. It's now become a cult horror hit. So, and I never would have imagined that when I was making it 30 years ago.
Yeah, considering that the film has little to no gore at all, no blood and gore, and it still pops out like an actual horror film. A little bit of B-side, but it's still entertaining because this car it still goes on a rampage without being a whole bunch of blood and gore everywhere.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
definitely no sex
not a lot of car
everywhere.
chases. If it was made now, there'd be like endless Christine car chases.
Yeah.
But that's not how they made them back in the early 80s. I think that the actors, the lead, Keith Gordon was so good playing the lead in it opposite Christine that really made a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, now that there's not even a whole lot of no sex in this one. There's a lot of horror films in that time period, which was still very popular. Like they put a bunch of sex in it, like every single sequel, and now they put nothing but that.
Yeah, sex and killing. I don't watch them because not because there's too much sex, because I don't mind that. It's the killing I have a problem with. I'm a scaredy cat, and so I always turn my head away in any kind of gore or violence.
Yeah, but with this film, it definitely would definitely be in a really good classic list. And not only that, because it's, of course, it's Stephen King, and almost everything that they made film-wise on horror is based off Stephen King's novels.
Yeah, he's very prolific, and there's been a lot of movie and television projects based on his books.
Everywhere you see.
I'm a big fan. I tell you what I do love. He wrote one of my favorite books. It was a book of short stories called Different Seasons. And every single one of those short stories was made into a movie. Stand By Me was called The Body. Apt Pupil was also made into a movie. And the other two, there are no... Anyway, I don't need to go on. But anyway, that is a really good book because it was really psychological thrillers or horror, I guess, and I prefer that than blood and gore and all that stuff. So.
Do you think they should cut down on that in this time era on the horror films?
No, I think I don't believe in censorship, so I think if people want to watch it, and people seem to feel like it doesn't make us more violent. I guess not. I don't know. I personally can't understand why it wouldn't make us more violent. I feel like what we see, what we hear, what we're around changes us, but I guess studies have shown that if you don't have a propensity for violence, you're not going to become violent.
No, that's why we blame it on the video games.
Yeah, and I don't, so I can't really weigh in on that. But, I personally choose not to watch horror films because I prefer to try and live as peaceful a life as possible. And so even watching fake violence, I want to.
And sometimes they really do make it look fake. It's like, wow.
And then it also becomes a source of amusement to fans. It can become really popular just for being so kitschy, I guess.
Yeah, it's like some of the older films that made huge... I mean, look at Killer Tomatoes. I've used this as an example before, but, I mean, Killer Tomatoes is a cult classic still.
Yeah, and I did a film called Piranha, which was a remake of the original Piranha, which was already, dumb enough, and we made a remake of it, which was, it's just so fun to watch how dumb it can be. So how fake, I guess, it was. Those piranhas didn't really look fake. But they didn't look real, but they still made you kind of scared to go in the water.
Yeah, it would. I mean, it worked for Jaws.
Yeah.
But speaking back to your character on Christine, did you feel like you could do this film first when you first approached it?
No, I was amazed that anyone would cast me. I kept thinking that a curvaceous blonde should have been cast, and there was really one big, huge mistake that they'd cast this lanky brunette, and I had no confidence whatsoever. None. And I hate my performance in Christine. But thank God I've gotten better over the years. It was my first feature film and my second starring role. So I was just really young.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever look back? It's like, oh my God, just don't play that in front of me.
Oh, I don't watch my old movies unless I have to. Like, I think I've seen parts of Christine because I've been, people have been interested in interviewing me about it in the last few years. But otherwise, no. I remember I was doing a movie in Turks and Caicos, and I was sitting in the car with the other actor, Matt, his name was, and he starts talking to me. And I look at him, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. He's completely out of context. Well, it turns out he's quoting from scenes of Christine, because he loves the movie so much. He's seen it. He kind of can quote the whole thing, and I didn't even recognize it, because I haven't seen the movie in 20 years or something at that time. And so, yeah. People remind me about my films. Otherwise, I don't look at them. It's like anybody, It's like going through your old, photos of yourself as a teenager. It's just awkward.
Yeah, you don't go back to your yearbook and really look at your photo, do you?
Yeah, no.
No, I don't want to do it. But put it in the fucking cupboard.
Yeah, not comfortable.
Did you ever work on developing your character in Christine? Because you see the character, she's kind of shy, she's new, but at the same time, everybody else would think she'd be easy, which in it slightly, but not entirely, in a way she is, but she don't know what she wants.
Well, I love my favorite line ever of any movie that anyone ever said about me was, "She looks smart, but she's got the body of a slut," which is what the actor Doug Warhit says in the movie about my character, which Doug Warhit is now a really good friend of mine. I saw him a couple of weeks ago. But I love, because I'm so do not have the body of a slut. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
When you don't have that, you kind of get a kick out of being called slutty looking. So I don't really mind being called slutty looking. Did I do background on the character? Yes, of course. I mean, I have always been the kind of actress, especially when I was younger, to really do a ton of homework about who each character is, what I mean, every single line, how I feel about every single character that is in scenes with me. So, yeah, I did a lot of background work. Now I would look back and say I probably did too much, because from now my acting style's changed, and I'm much more go with more of a gut rather than doing a lot of homework. But back then I covered up my insecurity about acting with a ton of homework and work and analysis and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, you as an actress, do you base work that as far as between film and real life? How do you show the viewer based on your characters?
I mean, how do I work on a character?
Yeah, as far as showing the viewers, do you show it based on your real life, or do you just?
Oh, I see. What do I get? What do I draw from?
Yeah.
I draw from, like, for some characters, like the character I did in American Flyers, the film I did, I think a couple years after I did Christine, and it starred Kevin Costner, and it was directed by John Badham. I actually had my friend Rita Vitalis was an inspiration for that character, because she was a hippie, and then this woman called Georgette, who was in my acting class, she would always inhale life, and she had big eyes, and she was innocent and excited about things. I used both of them as an inspiration for that hippie character I did in American Flyers. And then for character, because I wasn't like that. I was a real uptight person, always worried whether I was doing the right thing and stuff, so I needed to draw on people that I knew for inspiration on how to not be like me in that character.
Yeah.
And when I was doing Baywatch, Lieutenant Stephanie Holden was a very powerful woman, and I didn't feel powerful at that time. And so I drew on my twin sister, who was a firefighter, a woman in a men's world, who's very strong. She's really grounded, and she's got this sort of quiet power about her that I don't have. And I used her as inspiration for my character on Baywatch. And then for when I played a prostitute in 8 Million Ways to Die, I interviewed prostitutes. The producer hired a call girl to speak with me for an hour, and I asked her all these questions, and that helped me a lot. So those are the kind of things that I do to try and get into a character that's not close to me.
Yeah, and there are a lot of females out there, at least since way back then, didn't really get a good chance to have a real role. It's always the small parts, like a waitress or a girl behind counter. What are your thoughts? Do you think they have more power in the industry now?
I think that television is the best place for women. The roles are so much better. Unless you're Julia Roberts, or the very, very few women who get to have really meaty roles. If you look at movies now, and I just saw The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy, and God bless them because there's two great roles in a movie. But usually, most feature films have one lead woman who generally is an offshoot of the lead guy. She's his girlfriend, she's his, wife, or she's linked to him. And there's maybe one other role that's halfway decent for a woman. Otherwise, every single role, and that woman might be like the best friend or secretary or an assistant. It's not even that great a role. Every single other role is men. And that's, feature films are a lot like that. Television, totally different ballgame. Women have great roles. It's certainly 50-50 that there are, great roles for women, I think. And on Baywatch, the women had just as good parts, just as good powerful positions, all that. It was really equitable back in the 90s, and it's even more so today with the success of things like Desperate Housewives and, Scandal and Nashville. Those are all women-centric television shows.
Yeah, and there's this one new show. I have yet to see it, but it's called Bomb Girls.
Oh, I don't know it. Where is it?
It's back in the World War era where the ladies made bombs and stuff in the factory. Well, this was based on a short, or at least a short story, and it ended up being like an episode. They just made one episode, and they started stringing more episodes. And it's actually I saw previews of it. It looks pretty good as far as a drama series.
Great.
And it's all about these bomb girls that are in the factory, and it's just all female roles.
And also, television is. I look forward to seeing that. Thank you for letting me know about that. Television's also kinder to women over 40. Now, I'm turning 50 this year, so there's not really a place for me in most feature films. And television, there's more of a place. It's harder for women at 50 than it is for men at 50, but, everybody has their cross to bear, and I'm just grateful that television executives are seeing that people want to see people who are over 40 on screen after a certain age. I mean, I think in the 50s it was even harder for women. Like after they were mid-30s, they were considered too old. But people like Holly Hunter and certainly Kathy Bates. There's a lot of women who've shown that people want to see women. Laura Dern. She's not 50 yet. Julianne Moore. There's just people want to see women. They're okay with women over 50. And that you can be attractive and sexy, too.
Oh, of course. There's a lot of great of them out there. You don't need to have airbrush or CGI or anything like that, both between TV and or film.
No, and if you look, I think maybe, I don't know, but reality TV has shown that people, they kind of like the humanity of people. And I'm not talking about the Housewives of Beverly Hills, because that's different, but they warts and all. But maybe it's Housewives. I don't actually watch those shows, so I'm not really sure what they're about, but they seem to be everyone's all fancy and wealthy, and it seems like America kind of wants to see more humanity. That's why, like, Honey Boo Boo is sort of loved, and, shows like Ice Truckers or whatever it is, where they just want to see how people deal with situations like getting stuck in the ice.
Stuck in the ice, drive up the ice, down the ice.
I know, waiting for them to get stuck. I haven't seen that show, but my brother really liked it.
Oh, they got a whole new series of that now, new episodes of that now.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah, if you want to just have a heart attack and watch that and pray that it don't snow at your house, go for it. So you actually prefer going to television based on your experience?
Oh, yes. Ever since shooting Baywatch, I've always, there's several reasons that I've always appreciated television. When I first started in the early 80s, you were either a film actor or you were a television actor, and the twain never did meet. Until Michael J. Fox, pretty much I consider him the one who crossed the barrier. He was on his television show, Family Ties, and then replaced Eric Stoltz in the Back to the Future movies. And those movies did incredibly well, but he stayed on his TV show. And George Clooney then did it famously in the 90s, and there's been crossover ever since. And now there's even more crossover because people like, what's his name, the guy who hosted the Oscars with Anne Hathaway, James. Do you know what I'm talking about? He's kind of he's done soaps and movies and television. He just goes through all different mediums. You know who I'm talking about? He didn't do that great on the Academy Awards. People were not crazy about him as a host, but I admire him for moving through all different entertainment venues and not judging them. Alec Baldwin was perfect. He used to be a movie star. Now he's doing great. Then he started doing guest spots on comedies, and then he did 30 Rock. I mean, now it's completely interchangeable. But for women, I personally prefer television because the roles are better, and also because I like the pace. I like the faster shooting. Although now the pace is, I think, a little quicker because of technology has allowed feature films to shoot more quickly and still get that quality that they want.
Yeah, it just seems a lot more harder and harder for those in film now, because now they're just want to get this product out as soon as they can and don't really put a whole lot of work into this film. There's some good films that make huge money, but then at the same time there's ones that just bomb before they get released, like the third week when it hits theaters.
Third week, that's a long time, I know. When I was a kid, a movie would stay in the movie theater all summer, and that was the only way you could see it until years later when it ended up maybe on TV. Nowadays, it's a whole different ball game because you're happy if your film can stay in a month in the movie theaters, and then you've got DVD, you've got on demand, you've got cable television. There's so many other venues that your movie can go on, which I think is great. And it also means there's a lot more bad stuff, but there's a lot more good stuff too. It gives them more opportunity, I think, to more people. You don't have to rely on the big studios now to make a movie.
No matter what, so it usually comes down in figures. But if it gets really good, then chances are you'll be in the next film by that company. But it's also an up and down, the whole record label scenario.
So, I mean, I have a subscription to Netflix, and I think, there's nothing here I want to watch. But isn't that what we used to say about TV? There's nothing I want to watch. But now there's a lot of really good stuff on TV. So
that's almost handed to you now because of all the technology we got.
Yeah, exactly. So it's changed a lot, entertainment, how we view it.
How you feel about it as far as in general, though?
I think it's a good thing because I think it's a democratization of entertainment, and I like that. And I like that YouTube is around so that, anybody can put something on. If people like it, they'll pass it around. And it might not be rocket science, but you know what? It's somebody's creativity. People have an outlet for it.
Yeah.
I think we're honoring more the common man, just like reality shows kind of honor the common man. And then at the same time, we also have an uber celebrity culture. So it's both. We're both. The humans are very interesting creatures. We run the gamut.
Yeah. Was there any advice you would like to give out to anybody that's breaking into this industry?
Well, first you need to move to either LA. You want to do film and television, or if you're in theater, Chicago or New York. And that first off separates the wheat from the chaff. And nowadays it soon will probably be much easier to stay at home and make great products where you are, but right now you still need to come to where it's happening. And so that's the number one. And then you need to start taking acting classes if you're going to be an actor, or start interning if you're going to be on crew when you want to be a crew member. You have to be where the action is.
Is there anything you want to plug in as far as your project's going? When can we expect this film to come out?
The movie that I'm doing based on Free the Animals, which is currently titled Valerie X. Gosh, you know what? We've got the first draft. We're rewriting it, and so who knows? But just look for it. It'll hopefully be in a theater near you at some point within the next couple of years. Producing requires patience and persistence. I'm not a very patient person, but luckily I'm really persistent.
Well, there you go. That's Alexandra Paul, actress.